What is up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of What Else? I am Duane, and we are so excited to be back, but so guilty of being MIA for so long. First semester was really challenging, and I know most of you will understand. But we are back, and we are excited to present to you our first episode of 2021. Today, we have a very exciting topic where we are going to explore what happened in the past months of schooling online with our guest, Jayson Dalona, from the Bachelor of Science in Biology, major in Plant Biology, and Miss Deborah Torres from the Bachelor of Science, major in Philosophy.
Hello.
Hello, Dwayne.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to our audience. So, guys, how has it been since how many months has it been since quarantine? How are you guys doing?
Since the semestral break, I've been doing some distressing char.
Ah.
So, I've been enjoying my break since I want to prepare myself for another not so fun semester, another stressful yet amazing semester to learn things in this new normal.
Mm-mm. Miss Deb,
Yeah.
kamusta?
I'm fine. I'm actually fine and I'm getting good in the things that I'm doing. I'm trying my best, really. I'm really trying my best to keep it up.
Well, that's very good to hear that you're both doing well. How has the past months been to you? Juggling schedule after schedule of online classes and activities. How has it been for everyone?
Since we've shifted to another modality from face to face to online class, it's new for almost all of us. But for myself, it's not that new to me since some of our professors before have already used the Google Classroom or even the Molly itself. They have
Mm-mm.
utilized it in teaching us. However, it's still not that easy to cope up with the new modality. We've been adjusting, but for me, I believe that due to patience and determination to end the semester with a great impression, I have survived the semester well. I'm here right now. I'm officially
Yeah.
enrolled for the second semester, so I guess it was not that fun, but yet I survived.
Exactly. Well, that's good to hear. Miss Deborah, how has your first sem been? How has it been for you?
It's this. The setback itself, being in your house, that's the setback itself. It's because what's lacking in being in a classroom or being at home is not just the teachers or the students itself or the boards, but it's the interaction, it's the deliberation with other people. That's what you need, especially when you want to understand the lessons, of course. And there are topics uh, in our course that's really hard for a single person to understand. And you want to deliberate this with your classmates or friends or your professors, but because of it's harder to connect with them being just through online, of course. So it's so hard that I thought that maybe I'm not ready for this, although I have everything, I have the connection, the gadgets, or the Wi-Fi. Yes, wala ko problem. I don't have any problems with the connection. But the problem is that it's so hard to reach the understanding of your lessons by merely being alone in your own house and not being with other people. But then I realized eventually what made me get through all of this is because
Yeah.
it made me think that maybe these are the things where I should consider trying to be independent from them, trying to stop depending on the people surrounding you to reach, the end of the semester at least, or to reach the very goal. Why are you studying? So I bounced back through that understanding, through that thinking with myself, maybe I can do this alone. Although there are helps from time to time, like through chats with your friends, asking them updates, etc. But the whole process, you only do it yourself because being in an online class or through online class nga studying, it's really hard to be with other people, or you can't depend on other people too because they have their own struggles, they have their own lives. They're busy with their own studies, and you can't just bug them, keep on chatting them. Oh, unlike in the unlike sa personal jud nga chit chat where you can just tell them what you feel, what you think about. But online, it's harder. So that's why I realized that there are things you have to get through alone, and there are things that you know you should go through alone, and eventually you would realize that I have these capabilities, the I that I never really had before, or I discovered before. Now that I'm doing this alone, that's how I realized nga I can get through to the second semester.
Thank you, Deb, and thank you, Jason, for that insight. For a peek in your life, I mean, just like everyone else, it truly has been a struggle. It really has been very challenging to cope up, especially since some of the courses are not really acquainted to the new modality of the academe. But I think that personally, when I saw those posts from last semester, I can see that the people have been coping very well. I've seen lots of big grades. There has also been a lot of students who really, really push through, and I'm very, very glad to see that. So there are a series of workloads and deadlines that were making students anxious and doubtful of their skills and capabilities. What are some of the setbacks that you've experienced this sem, and how did you manage to bounce back? Has there been any setbacks for you?
I guess it's been a hard time to cope up with tasks need to be done, because we have introduced two methodologies in conducting classes, the synchronous and asynchronous. And when we conduct these asynchronous classes, it's up to the student on how he or she how he will accomplish the task given, submitting it before the deadline. So for me, the setbacks that I have is doing a lot of tasks at the same time. I mean, I don't have many subjects the second batch, but in the first batch, I have three subjects together. So it's a hard time to manage your time, since
Exactly.
also we are at the comfort of our homes, and it's
Yeah.
tempting to just lay in your bed, do nothing,
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
just watch Netflix. So maybe it's the advantage and
Yeah.
disadvantage at the same time of being
Mhm.
too comfortable at the place you're staying, learning. Because when we are at school, we're focused on learning. But when we are at our home, we get tempted by a lot of things. And also, we have our chores.
Mhm.
So it's hard to balance this. But I think what helped me
Exactly.
pull through is that I was able to reflect on what are my
Mhm.
motivations in the first place. Why am I in school? What's my goal in life? Reflecting on these things, remembering these things will make you more determined to accomplish despite a lot of tasks in your hand. So, reflecting, which is the gift also of this new normal.
Oh, thank you, Jason. That was very insightful. How about you, Deb?
So to be honest, well, there are a lot of professors from our department that are very generous with time. So there's not much of asynchronous classes, so it's just asynchronous classes, and they'll just send us readings and
Mm-hmm.
such. I mean,
Yeah.
depending on our course, depending on the course, of course. But in philosophy, we have to read a lot of things, so most of our time is spent on reading. It's not usually the meeting on Gmeet and such, but we do have other professors who really have these online classes. Well, for me, I have been also doing tutors, part-time job. So to have both, it's really exhausting because you don't know what to do, if you should start your own studies, or you should help your
Mm-hmm.
students. You have to finish their modules too, then teach them how to. So it's really confusing. Yeah. So eventually, you get the hang of it, and you practice time management well. You manage your time a little better time by time. So at first, it's really new for us to have this, especially for those who are also working students. I know a lot, especially from our department, and eventually we try to adjust, and we did adjust well.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That was very nice to hear that both of you pulled through from those setbacks. Now, one thing I'm really curious about is this is the first time that we had guests from outside our own college, our own course. So since for example with uh JJ, you're like from CSM
Yes,
and
yes.
plant bio, am I right?
Yes, Duane, yes.
Yeah, so I assume that you have laboratories and
Yes.
such, and how to like there are experiments that you conduct. How do you do that
Uh,
specifically? Because I know that's hard.
yeah. It's really hard to do laboratories at home, but it's possible. We can do it, but of course, there's limitations brought by, of course, the resources. But I've been used to doing laboratories without most of the laboratory equipments since I came from a public school since junior high school or even elementary. So when doing these things, these little experiments, or at our level, we're doing experiments that are like such as DNA extraction, but we've been doing
Mm-hmm.
a lot of improvisation. It's about resourcefulness. And maybe that's the gift also of not having this conventional or without these equipments that we usually use in the laboratory. It's for you to think outside of the box, to think practicality.
Mm-hmm.
Without these equipments, you can still do this DNA extraction, these things that is very important in studying science, or in my case, biology
Mm-hmm.
specifically. It's challenging, yet
Mm-hmm.
it's very helpful for us as an individual or as a scientist. Its disadvantage is that we are limited in what we can do. So there are certain activities that we cannot do at the comfort of our home. So I could not say that it's totally compromised, but siguro there's a little bit of compromise sa learning outcome. But
Mm-hmm.
there's an additional, or there's a incentive na you can be resourceful or you can think outside of the box, which is very important
Mm-hmm.
if you want to become a scientist.
Thank you so much, Jay. That's a new learning in on itself,
Yeah,
right? Like it takes a great mind to improvise something that is very technical, in my opinion. Since like for me, it's definitely new. This could be a reason why we are world class
yeah.
after all.
It's also we've been able to push through doing laboratories at homes because of the help also of our professors giving suggestions on what
Mhm.
are the alternatives if you don't have those chemicals at your home.
Well, that's really good to know. Deb is from CAS, but she's not from our course. Deb, what are certain difficulties that you could only face in you're from philosophy, right?
So I have mentioned before that most of our studies or learnings are usually readings, and that's the struggle because
Mm-hmm.
for us, if you're not really used to reading, you will have a hard time. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
it's nice to have a few discussions, but the setbacks are that it will always be, of course, online. So there are a few discussions. There are discussions held by
Mm-hmm.
different professors. They even invited us to join conferences from different universities. Yes, about philosophy, about ethics, different topics. But it's online, so it's hard to join those, especially being at home, having a lot of things to do as well, a lot of chores. So those are very hard. But our professors, there's a lot of our professors that are also very generous, especially by what books to read. So they give us the PDFs. They gave us links to
Mm-hmm.
free online libraries that we can download different books. And the hard part, of course, is that putting your staring at the laptop for how many hours or days reading book, and that's hard. especially when our researches
Exactly.
are our research is individual, so we're having a hard time. But then eventually, I've realized that it's that the beauty our course is teaching us is that it emphasizes our individuality or our independence from other people. So
Mhm.
I find it beautiful that philosophy is training me to be alone. Well, not lonely, just alone, studying, trying to discover what the limits are, what my limits are, the limits of my
Mhm.
mind. Uh, how far can I think? It's very nice. Eventually, you can train your mind the beauty of thinking alone, reading alone, and then studying alone. And so I'm confident that if we finish this semester or school year or the next school years through online class and then eventually really
Mhm.
learning to be independent, then I think that when we'll go back to face, I think most of our students or really all of us will be stronger in our studies.
Thank you. So that is very interesting that you conduct your researches individually, because as in the BA ELS course, we conduct our researches as a group. So it's very taxing already to conduct a research as a group, but to do it individually, I can't imagine how exhausting that could be. For us bio students, I think the biggest catch for us would be the readings. Most of us already thought that we will be tackling literature and stuff. So when now that we're tackling English as a language, so we're heavily based on the technicalities of English. So I think for me, and if I could speak for the whole course, for the whole department, it's the readings is the most hardest. And it's very very easy to get distracted with finding related literatures and different readings, because to be honest, it's kind of, it comes to the point that it becomes boring. Not that it is, but it goes to that certain point where you really have to have a mental fortitude for you to push through with it. So I'm very, very amazed that both of you have coped up with this kind of setbacks, and we have all pushed through with it. And I hope that we can continue with this for another semester, and hopefully we'll get to face very, very soon. Now that we've mentioned your setbacks, of course, to lighten up the mood, I'm sure that we all found a new hobby. Some of us became plantitas, some because of us became animal moms and dads, became animal parents. We've found new hobbies. Are there any new hobbies that the both of you have rediscovered, have discovered, have ventured into?
For me, it's really not new, but I would say I have revived that enthusiasm towards plants or planting or
Mm.
experimenting on plants, propagating plants, which is also what I am here for. I am studying as a
Mm.
BS biology major in plant biology student, so I should really have this passion or have this heart for plants, or I should be this
Mhm.
love, or I would say interest when it comes to plants. So this new normal being at home gave me that time to do some experiments or learn new
Mhm.
things through YouTube, or even with our classes online. We have our physiology, so I've learned
Mhm.
how our plants functioning. I've explored these things and I've revived this hobby.
Wow. That's like putting the learning into
Yeah,
action,
yeah, yeah.
which is very, very, very productive. Very productive. I'm jealous. How about you, Deb? Any new hobbies?
Oh
Any?
yes, I had a lot. Um, well, for the first few months of quarantine, I really became a plantita.
That's,
Yes,
you're one of
we
them.
all became a plant. Yes,
And
at some point of our lives, we became plantitas and plantitos.
yeah.
So yeah, I was planting my tomatoes, and then I thought that tomatoes can last for years and years, and then they only lasted for a few months, maybe 4 or 5 months, and then they after they withered, I stopped being a plantita. It makes me tired. It's like, and then, I'm tired. Just
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah. After harvesting a lot of tomatoes and just giving them away or just cooking them, so I stopped planting and I realized, yeah, it's fun, it's nice. It's maybe not for me because it's really really exhausting.
Yeah.
So I just I have a few passions when I was young. So yeah, just like what Jayson said, rekindling the passions that we had before. I don't want to add. I mean, it's nice to have a lot of things that you learn, but I want to master the things that I have started doing before. So I started. I know I continued and I practiced and I tried to master my instruments that I was playing
Oh, what
and the
instruments
arts
are
that I'm
these?
doing. Well, I play a lot of strings, guitar, bass guitar, and now I just I bought a new ukulele. So, I just want to continue strings. Then after strings, maybe piano again, and continue my flute. So I just want to go back to the things that I've loved doing before, and love to do them again. Then I continue my passion in arts.
Mm-hmm.
Started charcoal and pencils and watercolor,
Oh,
and it's
wow.
hard to master them, of course, but you have to slowly do them and slowly practice them, and eventually you'll get there. And another thing that I'm also doing this for my studies to practice. I started buying books. No, I didn't start. I was really a book reader before, but we get to the peak of those
Mm.
times, and then after high school, we just stop
Yeah,
reading
yeah,
after
we
high
stopped.
school.
We just
We just
stopped
stop
reading.
reading
Yeah, yeah.
eventually.
I can relate to that.
So,
Uh,
I really tried to read again, like one book a week and like that. So, yeah, those are the things.
One book a week.
That's the
Wow.
goal so far.
Wow, you're both so
Yes.
productive. I'm very, very jealous. All I've been doing all this quarantine is just watch Netflix and, lounge around. So it's really good that you all got your life together. That's very
Yes.
nice. I have a question for you, Deb. You've mentioned having an online job. How has that been how did you juggle that with your schoolworks and your studies?
It's not an online, it's a part-time job tutoring students. So they really come to me or I go to them and I help them with their modules, especially elementary students who having a hard time. Of course, we still wear masks
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
for safety. We
Mm.
teach them the basics. My mother is also a teacher, so we diagnose them from where they really missed, what lessons they really missed. No, they're because their parents cannot teach them anymore. So because they're busy, so we're the ones teaching them, and we have to. Well, for my case, I have to answer their modules first before I teach them, so I will know. If I can still remember, yes, I can still remember how to answer, especially math or sciences, etc. So at night, I know I have to read a lot of books for our research, but at night you just have to look at your student's module, and you just wanted to you know you just wanted it to miraculously answer itself because there's a lot of it. Like I have like 5 students, so I have to answer 5 modules a week. I know 5 or more modules a week. Then sometimes I stare at my laptop, then I have to look at the modules again, then you don't know what to do. But then I try to manage my time, like
Wow.
every time I have my time to rest, I would rather work on the modules, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
after
I can
working it,
imagine.
finishing it, then that's how I continue with my own lessons then.
That is so amazing that you can juggle all of that and read books for a week. I'm very, very impressed.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you
you.
so much. You have both of you really have a productive semester. How about you, Jace? How was it did your study patterns change because of the online class, or were you just able to incorporate your old study habits with online class?
I guess it's still the same. The pattern is still the same. So
Mm-mm.
after reading, I have to do my review for the quizzes or for the exam. In biology, we
Mm-hmm.
just have to read, memorize some stuff, understand them, not only memorizing them, but also understand these concepts, these theories that we encounter.
Mm-hmm.
It's not fun if you are not fond of these things, but it's
Yeah,
fun
yeah.
if you are really interested into these things. That's why it's
Mm-hmm.
very important that you are interested in your course or in what
Yes,
track are you in. So for
exactly.
me, it's still the same, but there are more efforts put into it
Mm-hmm.
since it's independent learning. So you don't have that luxury of having lectures with your
Mm-hmm.
professors. We can still ask them through chat, but it's not
Yeah.
the same that
Yes,
at the
yes.
same time they are lecturing you, then you can question them.
Mm-hmm.
Is my understanding right, or am
Mm-mm.
I being too overconfident that
I
I am
agree.
analyzing these things like this? But it's not really like that. So
Yeah.
it's still the same, but there's a lot more effort that I have to put into my studies
Mm-hmm.
than the usual. But it's still the same. I have to read and memorize, understand them, and review.
Yeah. So as it came from here, folks, you have to love what you're learning to
Yeah.
really enjoy what you learn, to really take what you're learning. So, for me lang ha, I think it's really not bad to explore your options when you go into college. It's like there's no shame in shifting, there's no shame in changing your direction, because then you all when you don't really love what you're doing, you don't love where you're at the moment, you don't really enjoy, you don't really get it because you don't have any interest for it. So I think you heard it from here, people, the audience, that you have to love what you're learning to really learn it, to understand it. I have a follow up question for you guys, since I'm also one of these people who are really struggling with studying even before online class, and both of you seem to really, really get the gist of how to study. Do you have any tips for us or any advice for on how to really effectively study and do this learning independently?
For me, there are a lot of techniques that our previous teachers or from our professors that they have told us for mathematics subjects. You just have to solve as many as possible. For sciences or for those that requires memorization and understanding, when you memorize, you
Mm-hmm.
can do this coding or you can do
Mm-hmm.
mnemonics. You can also have these apps na you can put some meanings of these terms, then you just have to
Mm-hmm.
memorize it. There's I forgot the app, but it enables you to input some knowledge or some facts in it. Then it's flashcards, flashcards. So it can help you memorize things if you will just have to do it
Mm-hmm.
daily. Your goal is to
Yeah, yeah.
memorize like 30 terms a day
Mm-hmm.
if you have a lot of them. So ganun lang.
Mm-hmm.
I-memorize mo lang yun, then hanggang sa you get to achieve what you want to achieve. Then, ganun lang talaga. It takes effort and interest to really learn, not just know, but learn these things and understand them. It's not just about memorizing them. It's about understanding them and applying them in the
Mm-hmm.
real
Yeah,
world.
I agree. How about Ate Deb, who's a tutor, who's very productive? What are your study tips?
These are just my own experience in studying, of course. Well, what I have been doing is that I'm really trying to train myself. So the challenge here is that you challenge yourself. So that's what I'm trying to do. So and the key in this being it's not really successful, but the key to, continuous learning is being consistent. That's what I try to practice every day. Even I fail
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, but what I've been practicing is that before I sleep, I know it's a bad habit, staying late at night, but the key is that just try to be consistent any time of the day. Before I sleep, I would read a book. I would it doesn't matter how many pages, or it's okay, just one page a night. Just have to be consistent that every night you read a book, or every morning when you wake up you just read a book. It becomes your practice, and eventually you will train your mind that yes, you will train your mind eventually, and trying to practice a lot of words, understand a lot of sentences, because sometimes there are point in studying, in researches that I've been reading, journals, etc., that you really don't understand anything. It comes to the point you can't understand anything whatever you're reading. So that's why you still have to continue reading. And another thing maybe is that try
Mm.
to be more self-aware. I
Mm.
would say that
Exactly.
for the past few months, this quarantine really made me realize that maybe I have been taking my studies for granted. Before the quarantine, maybe I have taken it for granted too much, because I don't think that I'm learning. And no, not that I'm not learning, but you know the the weight that you are learning before and the weight that you are learning right now, being individually, is much greater. That's why, although sometimes it's hard to understand what you're reading, I have learned to love it. Like, I have, for me, journals just became like, how I love novels is the same as how I love journals now. Like, the way I read journals is similar to the way I read novels. So that's why you have to try and keep on continuing what you are doing.
Uh, I think that both of you really, really said that all we have to have is determination and effort, and I really agree with that. But time and time again, I would like to remind you guys and the people listening that sometimes we really lose interest. That's normal. It's okay. It's fine. We lose the motivation. We lose this um drive to keep on learning. I think that is a certain point in time that we have to take a rest, and that we have to find ways on how to detoxify ourselves, because you can't really fill a full cup. Like, you have to de-stress, and you have to take a break, because it that is very conducive for everyone. So thank you so much, guys, that you share these tips for us, and I'm really, really happy that we get to hear this. Now that it's been so long, I can't remember when was the last time that uh it's been so long since I've ridden a jeep. It's so long since I've walked the streets of Iligan City with no goal at all but to make laag. Uh, what did you miss the most about face-to-face classes? What is it that you missed the most when life was normal?
For me, I guess, of course, the thing that we all lost, the social interaction, physical interaction with our friends, with our
Mm-hmm.
professors, with our blackmates, or with our families, even if some of us are at their boarding
Mm-hmm.
house or apartments at the moment, since they choose to spend their time there for the online classes. So they have also missed that chance. So maybe what I miss the most is those interactions that we make with them,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and also those distressing part that we can eat together at
Yeah.
our favorite restaurant or favorite fast food chains. We get to have this year-ender parties, go to beaches. We've lost those things. And we have to find something new for us to cope with that, what with what we've lost. So maybe that's the hardest things that we need to overcome.
Yeah, exactly. How about you, Miss Deb? Anything that you miss at all? Anything that you wanted to go back to normal?
Well, it's just simple. I really miss the simple things in study in
Mm-hmm.
on face to face classes, especially you know yeah, as Jason said, maybe the interaction, but yeah, for
Yeah.
me mostly is having taking lunch with my friends, because that's the part where in between the classes and you have to take a break, and then you go with
Mm-hmm.
your main friends, and then you bond with them, you talk with them, you talk to them
Mm-hmm.
about the lessons, and then it makes me feel like a student every lunchtime, because you bring your bag
Yeah.
everywhere, you just dangle
Yeah.
your
Yeah. Yeah.
school ID to wherever you go, so it makes me feel like a student, and I miss that part,
Mm.
having lunch with your classmate, looking for the cheapest calendaria you can find.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's it. The feeling of being a student.
Yeah, yeah, that's the most I can understand. As someone who energizes himself with social interaction, it has been very exhausting for me. It has been very draining. I think that's one of the reason why I have been demotivated for the first semester, because I am someone who feeds off people's energy. Wala ko- it sounds so like I'm a succubus or something, but yeah, it gives me energy to interact with people and to see people doing this stuff. When this online classes blew up, it was like you have to do things alone. You have to, and it's really, I think my biggest struggle was that I didn't know when to stop. I like when you read stuff and just when it was face to face, you had the opportunity to say, wait lang, let's take a break muna, guys. Let's enjoy, let's do this and that, and that is the luxury. And that used to be so normal, and that's something that we used to take for granted. Eating lunch, so the trivial things that we take for granted every single day was the things that we miss the most right now. And I think that is what everyone is feeling as of the moment, because 4 years is just a 4-year college and we're halfway through it. Like all of the IITs probably miss Palakasan. Uh, we all miss the festivities, and these are things that we used to take for granted. And yeah, I think that's what it's not really the academics, but yeah, we miss learning very much so with people. But I think what we really miss the most is the chance to interact, and the chance to for me lang personally, it's very easy to reflect when you see others struggling as well. Like when you see others like also struggling, you're like, okay, I'm not alone with this kind of situation. You're just like, are they also struggling? Am I the only one struggling? And I think yeah, that's what we miss the most. Now that the first semester is up and the second semester is just around the corner, what are your final thoughts for online classes? Do you think that MCIIT held up to its name of still being one of the best institutions? Did they succeed with the online classes? And do you think that we still got that quality education?
For me, being the experimental student for twice, for the K to 12 and this new normal.
Yeah,
So,
I didn't realize that.
yeah, for me, I would say I would congratulate IIT for doing well, or I guess for successfully pulling through first semester. I think
Yeah.
as a start of, or IIT being new or not totally new with this modality, but it's done a lot of things to cope up with what we have or what's on our hands right now. I think MSU IIT before handling the integration of the tribe people, now handling the
Mm-mm.
three distinct people with different economic status, the poor, the middle class, and also the rich. They have to
Mm-hmm.
address this gap, and I think uh,
Mhm.
incorporating that C1, C2, and C3, that categories really helped. From my perspective, it really helped. I don't know if the implementation really went well, but of course, there's an evaluation after the first semester. So I guess that's part of IIT success, to have this
Yeah.
evaluation to really
Mhm.
see if
Mhm.
it's effective ba. But for me, it's effective siguro at some extent, but there are still things need to improve, especially in the modules, in the task
Yeah.
given.
Yeah.
Is it realistic ba? Is it doable? Is it feasible
Yeah.
na makaya sa students to do this
Mhm.
task? So there are a lot of things to improve, but there
Mhm.
are also a lot of things that has been done already.
Mhm.
So I would like to congratulate still IIT for first successful first semester. So siguro,
Exactly.
let's hope for a better second semester.
So I really do hope that IIT had, have learned something, or at least discovered the learned from the first semester of online classes, that they have a lot of things to address. And for me, maybe Jason had said it all, but there's one thing I like
Mhm.
to address, is that there are a lot of working students that I know. Some of my classmates are working students, and there is a hard time
Mhm.
for them to actually join a lot of online classes, like literal online, being online. So there was a time that our professor tried to introduce the modular uh modular system, but we were we were not able to do that because it's still not well developed, the idea of being you know not really joining any online
Mhm.
classes. It's really hard, especially for a college student, because you can't just put your learnings in a paper. So IIT has still a lot of
Mhm.
things to consider, or make better in the next semester or the next years. But
Mhm.
yes, Jason was right. We still can congratulate
Yeah.
their
Mhm.
adjustment to the online classes, because we were not really prepared for that. No one was prepared for that. So that's, well, I'm not really sure if it will be better for the next semester or it will remain the same, but I just hope that IIT can see all of those
Mhm.
things. But because in the end of the day, it's still just compromise, between the students and between the school. If they have the will, I'm not really invalidating the experiences of the students, but the school is also struggling and we are struggling, so we have to meet halfway, both of the school and the students. Yes.
Thank you so much. Uh, I think that, yeah, I agree that there are things to improve. There are points, as usual, there are always things to improve when we're trying out new things. It's a new experience, not just for them, but also for us, or the other way around. It's not, we're all new to it. We've been shocked by the outcome. We haven't been prepared for it. But I really want to commend the faculty and the staff for pulling through first semester. There were synchronous classes, and there most of the teachers, from my experience, most of our teachers recorded the lessons that we were taking for the convenience of those who are not able to attend. There are teachers who have not really put too much pressure on students to attend classes, and I think that's something that I would like, I appreciate a lot, because um unlike others, there are students who does not have enough resources to attend these classes, and I think that the system has considered that and give some leeways to the student. There are certain points that needs to be addressed, of course, but overall I think that they have at least continued their legacy of being one of the best. Yeah, so as I wrap this up with you guys, I have one last question. What are your tips and what are your key takeaways for the coming semester to our listeners? What would you like to tell them?
I think this new normal have taught us a lot of things and have helped us improve a lot of things also, especially communication. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
with the shift on using online as a mode of communication, there are a lot of barriers. There are a lot of things we need to
Mm-hmm.
consider in order to push through successful communication. Diba? We have a lot of models of communications or theories of communication, and we know na naay mga noises there, and there are
Mm-hmm.
barriers na nag-cause siguro. I think for me, I've seen a lot of students, professors struggling to communicate. So my tip for those students that who are complaining, if you want to complain, communicate it first with your professor. Because for us, there are a lot of things that we have communicated with our professors and they have understood our sentiments, so they have compromised. If
Mm-hmm.
you will give them the chance to hear you, maybe it would have a better outcome than if there's really no result with that. Ask your advisor. Then after that, ask your department head. After that, you can ask the
Mm-hmm.
dean or go to OSDS. That's the last step, I guess. So, siguro, you don't have to escalate the issue if it's not that too severe pa. If you can manage it
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
in the class, please manage it because we are all having this stress.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We need to understand also that it's not only us who is experiencing this stress of shifting online. We also have our
Mm-hmm.
professors that are taking their time or having hard time preparing for this, the modules. And
Mm-hmm.
I would like to commend the Department of Biology for giving
Mm-hmm.
us the quality of education that we really deserve or we
Mm-hmm.
have really gained that maximum quality of education right now. Because they
Mm-hmm.
have prepared this video resource as well. They have prepared these handouts as well. So I think if you have problems, you can communicate it with your ano. Also, another takeaway, if at this moment you want to stop schooling because you're having hard time, siguro you can think twice or not even twice. Think it through. Is it worth it to stop right now? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Look back. How many times have you felt down, but you are here right now? You are at your third year or second year or at the second semester. So if you can still do something to cope up with this, you can still adjust with the new normal. Do it for not only for yourself but for other people, hoping for you to succeed in life. So maybe if you want to really stop, think it through if is it worth it to do it right now. Because maybe we don't have a race here, but time is really precious. We don't know where our time would end, where these opportunities given would end. So live your life at the fullest. And maybe do not exhaust yourself with your studies.
Mm-hmm.
Have fun sometimes. And if you would like to study on certain subjects, you can have
Mm-hmm.
break after 2 hours of studying. You don't have to do it like 5 hours straight. You have to take breaks. And yeah, that's the secret. That's it, siguro. So I just hope that you are doing well right now. And if you feel down, just think of the path or of the success that you have done already right now. You've pulled it through for the
Yeah.
previous years. You can do it.
Thank you so much, Jay.
So there's a lot of disadvantage of me being to answer second to him because he just said it all, you know. But I will I will back him up. So he's right. There are, if you really want to shift to another course, think about it, and if it's in your heart, really, just shift, just go on, because you can't just pursue if you don't love it anymore. I mean, yeah, talking about the course, huh? If you don't love your course anymore, just no, just shift. If you want to stay, then be persistent, be consistent, and this is a hard time. So you must have to understand your professors as well, have to understand the situation, not just you. You have to understand your surroundings. So you have to deliberate it yourself, because by the end of the day, it will be you who will have to decide. So just a tip on how to decide. There's this decision making tip. You have to think about it for 31 days. Yes, that's you have to think if you wanted to shift. You can still continue studying, but think about it first for at least 31 days, or for at most 31 days, and then after that, decide. Try to decide what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I want. That's the only thing that I'm going to say to you. Just be consistent in your studies, and if you got to the point that you're really tired, uninspired, just go back to the first reason why you are studying. May it be your family, may it be any loved ones, may it be yourself. Make yourself an inspiration. Like, I want to study, I want to go abroad, I want to enjoy life. Make it the inspiration again and again. So that's all.
Oh, thank you so much, guys. For me, going into the second semester, I haven't done great in the first semester. I admit that I have really stumbled from the pedestal that I had last year. But what I would really like to share to everyone is that the key to this is to communicate. Kinda, it's really it boils down to that. Like, I have seen the professors really try to to give their best, and I would like the people to really appreciate that, the students to appreciate that, just like how they appreciate that we are doing our best. Because as mentioned by Deb earlier, we have to meet halfway. And just like what Jason said, we really don't have to escalate to great heights just to address what we want to address, because just like everything else, it takes a process. The key to that is to communicate. I'm sure that everyone is just willing to talk it out, and it actually doesn't give too much stress if you just talk about it. You just have to tell people what you feel, and just have to ask yourself to communicate not only to others but to communicate with yourself. Talk to yourself. That's okay if you're okay. It takes away the stress of it all. Now that we are going into the second semester, we should be more persistent. We should put in more effort. We should be determined that, again, we have reached this point in time and we're still fighting. And I think that speaks so much about what we are as a person, and the strength that we have, and how we could um, overcome the challenges that we already see in front of us. Let's all be understanding, and let's all learn how to convey the right messages to other people and to ourselves. I am very happy to have both of you guys, especially since we're both from different colleges. I'm really happy that we got the opportunity
Yes.
to talk this out with you and to share the first semester with you. And I'm so happy about that. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Duane.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Department of English. Thank you so much to all of the persons behind this podcast.
Mhm.
This is really helpful for other students to learn things or to reflect on things. Thank you
Mhm.
so much. I'm glad to be here also.
Thank you so much.
Yes, it's such an honor. It's such an honor and opportunity that we were able to talk here to inspire other people as well and to, encourage them to go back to their tracks. Thank you very much for inviting us for this podcast. Thank you for everyone who is behind this.
Thank you so much. And that wraps up our 4th episode of What Else. I hope that everyone is staying safe. Please tune in this week or next week for our next episode. I'm so happy, guys. Stay safe, wear your mask, drink your vitamin C, and drink your water. Have a great day. Bye.